Hi, friends. This is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Ironbound and Ironbound's creator, David Ward. And let's talk about transparency in tabletop role playing game design. So, I got to play Ironbound at EcclesiaCon 2025, which was put on by Wesley Allen. And David Ward came all the way down from Maine and shared his game at in Palmyra, New Jersey, at this Baptist church, right? That where the convention was held, and I came up from Philadelphia to Palmyra, New Jersey, and got to witness Ironbound. So he was extremely open, and he answered questions about tabletop role playing game design very open and very honestly, right? Now for that he should be rewarded, but it's the exact opposite. Like, people just need to start understanding this, and I think people just don't understand this, right? Our society, and I'm no exception to this, brutally punishes open, transparent conversation, and that is not going to change. And actually, I think the people who understand this best are literally CEOs, and this is why they make millions of dollars, right? Increasingly, corporations are like, we ain't telling you nothing, because the moment we tell you anything true, honest, or transparent, you're going to turn it into a dagger, and you're going to try to slit our virtual throat with it. And they're right. Right? Like, and so, like, David Ward told me a lot about how he designed Ironbound, right? And everything he told me made me like it less. And the reason why is it's a magician showing you the tricks, right? Now, so, okay, I hear you, Scott. But if they can't talk openly and honestly about their games when they know there are going to be people asking these questions, what do they talk about? That's a completely fair and honest and correct question that I want to talk about today, because this is extremely difficult, right? So first of all, I really think every tabletop role-playing game designer needs to start considering themselves a magician, right? They have tricks, and they need to keep those tricks hidden, right? Because, and this was in the Prestige film, the movie was like, if you tell people how you do your trick, they will despise you. And I think that's absolutely true, right? And so one, the way to manage this is, one, I think Appendix N is a really smart thing. So Gary had Appendix N, which was his inspirations. And this is one thing I think you can talk about. You can say, these are the books I read. These are the shows that I read, and this is the vibe we're going for. And then talk about your genuine love of those inspirations, but not too deeply, right? Just how they inspired it, not actually how, not like, oh, this character was based on this thing was based on that, right? You have to talk about it very vaguely. The other thing that I think tabletop role-playing game designers need to start to wrap themselves in a very distinct, powerful shroud of mystery and mystique, right? And we don't have people doing this right now except Kelsey Dion. I really think Kelsey Dion was very careful. She is starting to talk about how she succeeded with Shadowdark. I just learned a bunch of things that explained a lot of questions I had about Shadowdark from the most important tabletop role-playing game panel in the history of tabletop role-playing games ever held at any convention, which was Kelsey Dion's explanation of what she did with Shadowdark at GaryCon 2025, right? So she is starting to talk about what she did, but only because she has given herself some space and some protection, right? And that protection is success, right? There's a big old shut the F up that comes with, she has the hottest game from momentum, passion, and excitement, right? Like, D&D is literally victorious. D&D has won the tabletop role-playing game market. Nobody's even close. It's not a debate. It's not it is full on major success, right? D&D is the winner of the tabletop role-playing game industry from metrics, right? Shadowdark is the winner of the tabletop role-playing game industry from vibe, and from energy and momentum and everything other than numbers, right? And those are enough numbers to make sure that Kelsey Dion is massively successful, right? But what's really interesting is, so she is starting to say some things, but if you're small, you really need to keep mystique and you really need to keep a mystery around you. People do not reward open, transparent conversation. So what do you do? So another thing that I think these TTRPG designers need to start doing is turn the question back to the questioner, right? And have genuinely interesting questions, right? A lot of these people who are doing interviews for tabletop role-playing games are interesting people, and they are massively into tabletop role-playing games, very much so, right? And so they can turn the question back and get and just ask the interviewer the questions. And I think this is important, and it's a skill that these new tabletop role-playing game people need to start doing. The other issue is do what I do and start embracing the meta of tabletop role-playing games and building that not only is your tabletop, and I think Gary really did this, right? Gary gave, hey, this is a game energy, right? But he always had this current, this underground silent river, this flowing river of meaning and symbolism, and like, there's a perfect example. On the cover of every single dungeon magazine, they wrote, "Mastering the Dungeon and Beyond." Mastering the Dungeon and Beyond. It was a really big freaking deal, right? Like, and so, and these are just ideas I had for how, but these tabletop role-playing game designers need to never be open and transparent about their communication, start to wrap themselves in mystery and mystique, and they need to figure out how to fill these spaces where people are going to do nothing but ask about how was this game designed, how much did your art cost, how did, what was your, actually, even the inspiration, I got, I think they need to start talking like philosophers, right? Keeping it at a 50,000 foot level, talk about the basic shape of the game, but never talk about the specifics of the game. It's very weird and unusual, but I think really I think it's very important to understand that Kelsey did this. Kelsey built an engine of cool. Shadow Dark has become an engine of cool, right? That's my take, and I will admit, right, like, I said, hey, what should they talk about? This is not going to be easy. I've just started the conversation, and I realize my answers are not sufficient to get the job done, right? Other tabletop role-playing games are, tabletop role-playing game designers are going to need to start to think about this. How do I never answer the truth about how I built my game? And I cannot stress this enough, right? We have goodwill for creators. When creators talk about how they create, it shatters that goodwill. It really shatters that goodwill, right? And if you think I'm wrong, right, I want you to think about DVD extras and laser disc extras, and like, have you ever heard a single creator say anything that gave you more respect for them, right? And I can give you 1,000 examples where it's turned into just pure bad, right? Perfect example of this is Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi is a brilliant, director, and he was on, he worked on Doctor Strange, in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, right? And they're like, hey, you got Wanda in your movie, and we were wondering, how does this connect to WandaVision, and what are the Easter eggs that are going to come? I didn't watch WandaVision. Keep your mouth shut, right? Like, do not, like, it's so bad, right? And I just really want, and so I appreciate your patience. We've started this discussion, right? And there needs to be more answers coming. If you're not going to fill this time with answers, what do you fill it with, right? So I've given a few ideas. Some of them were good, some of them were bad, some of them didn't get all the way there, right? But we really need to do this, where we need to start structuring this stuff, right? Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider like and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.